Hi guys, it's Elaine here, the Animal Reiki Lady. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. It's time for another reading. This one today for Morgan. And I tried not to write notes, but as soon as I call Morgan into my mind, all kinds of thoughts came through, and I can't wait to share them with you. A little bit about telepathy. Yep, we're going to be talking about telepathic communication. And I call the word telepathy a hairy fairy word. It's got so much baggage attached to it, but I hope that you will bear with me and let me try to, if not convince you, at least maybe get you thinking about whether or not telepathic communication is possible with our animals, especially animals who have crossed to the other side. Okay, first of all, for those of you who may be watching my videos for the very first time, my name is Elaine. I'm an animal Reiki master, and I help people make deep spiritual, energetic, healing connections with animals. And I also teach it. But for this channel, it's all about animals who have crossed to the other side and how to help people reestablish those connections with the animals that were such a big, important part of their life and who may have crossed under very sad circumstances. So we try to help release all of that in these videos. Okay, so today's video is for Morgan. And Morgan is a lab, and Morgan crossed very early in life. So where my Jack and Lucy lived to the ripe old age of 13 and 14, Morgan crossed when she was very young, like around 7. And she crossed from cancer. She had bone cancer in her shoulders. And that is why Morgan crossed. And this particular message is because Morgan's papa is not what I would call a non-believer, but is a very, very skeptical. So, and I've been there. He's a big skeptic, and thinks this is wackadoodle, to use a word, not my word, his word. So I'm going to share this message from Morgan. And Morgan, by the way, chuckles at that. And Morgan has some really cool things to share specifically for Papa. And then there's a really cool message about telepathic communication that is coming through not just from Morgan, but also from all of the animals that I work with. Of course, Jack and Lucy and Winston, my 3 seniors who crossed all within 18 months of each other, they have become my my superpower to the other side. They have really become strong links and helped me share these messages with you. And also my Gypsy, who is still with us. Gypsy, you know, is blind. And Gypsy's not just blind, she has no eyes. And she's totally sightless. And the inspiration and the things that she teaches me as well also come through in these messages. So let's talk about Morgan a little bit. Morgan, who, because she crossed when she was so young and still had so much life ahead of her, her human companion was understandably, as many of you who have experienced this, was angry, felt cheated, that Morgan crossed so early, had given so much of his life and his love and his soul and his being to Morgan, and to have her cross and leave him feeling so bereft and with such a hole in his heart. And I think that you guys, some of you can relate, right? I mean, even though Winston was only with me for 2 years, he was my soul dog. And when he crossed without any warning, and that was just, and he was a senior who I knew was going to cross. So I understand what it feels like to lose your animal companion, like your true companion, and in some cases, your soulmate. When they cross, they leave us bereft and they leave a hole in our heart. So those are the feelings that come up when I think about Morgan and Morgan's papa. And the interesting thing is that despite the skepticism, and we're going to talk about this in just a second, Morgan has never left his side, never, ever. And the image I got right away, which I know will be so meaningful to Morgan's papa, is I got an image of her still sitting at the front of the kayak. So even on the water, even in the boat, Morgan is there. And there is no lack of patience on the other side. They don't forget us. They don't give up on us. They don't throw their hands up in frustration. Doesn't happen. If they are meant as our soul animal, as our soulmate, our companion, their companionship doesn't leave us just because they've crossed to the other side. And they will be as patient as they need to be. There is no end of patience when they cross to the other side. So that was the specific piece for Morgan and Morgan's papa, that there is endless patience, and you can be as skeptical as you want to be. It will never prevent her from being right next to you, right by your side. So one of the things that came, now then we start talking about telepathy. Okay, so telepathic messages. If we define telepathic communication, it is simply an exchange of feelings or thoughts without the use of language or words or writing. And you've probably all experienced this in some way, right? If you walk into a room and all of a sudden you sense that something's really off, or you, let's see, telepathic communication can also happen if someone like reaches out to you and you go, oh gosh, I was just thinking of you. Those are all examples. We call them coincidences, but it's more than that. Those are examples of that kind of communication where thoughts or feelings are conveyed without the use of writing or language. Just think about cell phones, guys. 100 years ago, right, when they came up with the telegraph, I don't even know when that was. That was the way we were able to communicate, and then it was all done through like bird on a wire. Everything was done, on the telephone through wired connections. And now think of how far we've come with cell phone communication. Is it logical to think that brain to brain, heart to heart communication is in our very near future? That's what I think anyway. So let's go back. I know I'm going way down the rabbit hole. Let's go back to telepathic communication. One of the reasons that people reach out to me, besides skepticism, the reason they reach out to me is because they'd like me to make that connection for their animal companion. They would like me because I feel comfortable with it and I trust it. I have no doubts. Those have long been erased. You can call me wackadoodle till the cows come home, and it does not interrupt the flow that I have with the animals that I work with. And so most people reach out to me because they want me to make that connection. And one of the reasons, I can usually get people to agree that there is an afterlife and that our spirit goes on. But the fact that that spirit can communicate with us, that's where I kind of have the breakdown. And the number one reason that I have seen that people don't try to connect with it, whether you use the word telepathy or not, that people don't try to connect with their animal on the other side is fear. It's the biggest word, fear. Now, we'll do this in private. So fear of judgment is probably not the fear. Like people will think I'm crazy. Well, most people aren't going to tell people that they're sitting down to meditate so that they can talk to their pet on the other side. That's going to be something very private. What they do fear is rejection, fear of rejection, fear that they won't be able to do it, fear that their animal has forgotten them, fear that their pet is having too much fun on the other side. Why would they want to stop to connect with them? Fear that they hate them, fear that their animal is still so angry with them for the circumstances when they crossed. Nope. Fear of that they've already come back. So fear that they're already reincarnated. And what if we missed them? What if they were coming back for us and somebody else adopted them and we didn't? And all those things come through our mind. So I'm here to help ease some of those fears. And also today I'm going to just take you on one little exercise that I'd like you to try. I'd just like you to try it and see what kind of connection that you make. I will use the example. Now, when I say telepathic communication, I don't mean that, although it could happen, I don't mean that you're going to sit down, close your eyes, and then all of a sudden, poof, you're going to see your pet in your mind and you're going to have a conversation back and forth. It's possible, but that's generally not the way that it starts out. It starts out with feelings, and it comes in the most unusual ways. So I like to share the story of Jack. When Jack crossed in December, it's almost going to be a year. It was December of 2021. When Jack crossed, I really purposely sat down and asked him to connect with me, asked him to show me in any way that he was still with me. And the three things that I got, all within one day of each other, and within a day of him crossing, was his name. Number one, every time I turned around, somebody was calling out the name Jack. So that stood out to me. You could write that off as coincidence, but I believe in co-incidence, not coincidence. So everybody was calling out his name. Then I saw his twin. Now, Jack was a yellow lab. So once again, you could say it was a coincidence, but Jack just wasn't any yellow lab. Jack was like that lion right there. He had a mane. it was like this mane of yellow fur that went all around his neck, and you could just imagine him being a lion. I always joke that he was actually a cat in dog's clothing anyway. But so I saw his twin, and that is unusual, that type of characteristic. And then the third thing was drinking from the toilet. Jack was a toilet drinker. And when it was the day after he crossed, and I was laying in bed and I had just woken up, and I was right in that really pleasant space when you're not quite awake and you're not quite asleep. And I heard Jack drinking from the toilet, and I was thinking in my mind, it's gonna make me cry. I was thinking in my mind, Jack, please don't drink from the toilet. You have a bowl of water right over the Jack, you're drinking from the toilet, and he's not with me physically. He gave me a sound that I could not mistake for any other sound. There's no sound like a dog drinking from a toilet, guys. And so I knew that that was Jack's way of telepathically communicating with me, letting me know that he was there by my side, which is really what we want. We just want them, we just want to know that they're okay, that they've made it safely across. That's a video for another time, that they've made it safely to the other side, which they always do. They don't get stuck between worlds, but yeah, I'm getting off topic. So to address a couple of those fears, first of all, listen for a message that's unique from your animal. And then they do not ever carry with them feelings of guilt, feelings of anger, feelings of hatred, feelings that you let them down, feelings that you didn't do something right. That's the baggage we carry. We put that in our hearts and in our minds. And I promise, if you can find a way to forgive yourself, another video you could watch. What? I can't get it. There we go. Point on this side. Another video you can watch about self-forgiveness. You can, when you let go of those things, it's so much easier to receive messages from them. It's like lifting a burden from you. And we can talk another time about some of the techniques that I use to let go of some of that stuff. Last night, I was doing a little exercise as I was falling asleep, where I imagined I was saying forgiveness words out my mouth. And as I said the words, I imagined they were bluebirds just flying away with the words, and forgiveness felt so good. So if we can get ourselves to a state of forgiveness, the message comes through clearer. Okay, so what else do I want to share? Okay, the fear that what if they have forgotten me, or what if they have already reincarnated, or what if they're having too much fun? They will still always, they're so, okay, hairy fairy word, multidimensional. They are capable of so much more when they cross. Their spirit is so amazing. So Winston is the example of a dog who's having too much fun. When I connect with Winston, he gives me the same visual every single time. He was deaf here on planet Earth, and he gives me this visual. He is just running on the beach, having so much fun, chasing the birds, jumping in the air, having a blast, and he always gives me that same visual. And it just fills my heart with joy to know how happy he is, and to know that he can hear, and to know that he's having so much fun. And it's just gleeful for him to imagine him running on the beach, chasing the birds, living his absolute best life. And then there's Lucy. When my Lucy crossed, you know, she is my biggest inspiration. She's the one who opened all these doors for me. She became part of my heart, and all I have to do is think of her. And I know right away that she's still by my side, because she's still deep, deep inside me. She's actually a part of my heart. So think of the many ways that you might be able to connect with your animal. Leave yourself wide open to the possibility. And so I'm going to take you through a little exercise. And this video is going a little bit longer than normal, but I'm going to take you through just a really brief exercise that you can do. It's focused on your breath. You want to be someplace where it's quiet, that you can close your eyes and relax and just begin to breathe. All you need to do is focus on your breath. And I call this dropping into your heart space. You focus on your breath, you breathe in, and imagine that you're breathing in the same air that you shared with them when they were part of your life. And you breathe that in, nice deep breath, and a slow exhale. And as you exhale, breathe that back out. So you're breathing in that beautiful air. It's full of love and light and peace and calm. You trust and you let go of any of your doubts. You trust you're going to be able to make a connection with them because you're breathing that same air you shared with them. Breathe it in, full of love, breathe it out, share that love back out, and let them, and this is when I call it dropping into your heart space. As you breathe in, think about that one thing, that unique thing, that special thing about them, that thing that made you smile, like thinking about Jack drinking from the toilet. Think about whatever that, maybe that quirky thing is, that funny thing is, that thing that right away brings a smile to your face when you think of the animal companion that shared your life. And that is dropping into your heart space. You're breathing in love. You're thinking of them. Imagine what it was like to cuddle them, to hold them, to snuggle them. You drop into your heart space and then you just ask. You make the request. Let me feel you. Let me feel you. Let me know something. Let me know anything. And be open to receive whatever that may be. It can be something clear out of the blue, another phrase that is no longer meaningful to me, out of the blue. It can be something that is potentially out of the blue, but that only you will recognize, and you'll know right away that you've made that connection. And the more you practice, the easier the messages will be, and the clearer the messages will be. It's a beautiful way to connect with your animal, and helps relieve some of those fears that we've lost them, that they're gone to us forever, because they are not. Even if we delay, if it's been years since you've tried to make this contact, there's no sense of time. This kind of love transcends time and space. The love that we had with our animal is literally forever, infinity. It's infinity. All right, so that was today's message, guys. I hope it was a good one for you. I know it was longer than normal. Do want to remind you that if you want to go even deeper with this, we had the School of Animal Mystics. We meet every Friday, and it's a group of people who just love the idea of being Snow White. And we practice it and we talk about it and we make these amazing connections with animals. And yeah, so that's it for now. I hope you have a beautiful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And until next time, may the animals light your way. Take care.